What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about why British redcoats are red. And I feel like it is so overdue that I finally learn about this. I mean, for most Americans like myself, this is such an iconic part of British culture. This iconic look. And I mean, every American knows about redcoats, and many of us picture soldiers in red uniforms when we think of Britain and British culture in our minds. And yet, we don't know the meaning behind it. So, that is exactly what I want to learn about today. Why are the redcoats red? So, let's take a look.
Why were redcoats red?
Yeah.
Everyone knows that the British Army wore red uniforms for a long
Yes.
time in its history.
Yes.
But do you know why red was the color of choice?
No, because it's like when you think about it, yeah, that's right. I'm going to drag this out as long as possible. It's such a simple question, but I'm really curious. But when you think about it, the red coat, that's a pretty vibrant color. It sticks out a lot. Pretty easy to see. It's not great for camouflage to wear red and white. It's almost saying like, "Here I am, shoot me," in a way. And the red coats were very, very nice looking. Is the only thing that really sticks out to me. It's like the uniforms looked good. They looked nice. The soldiers were on point with the fashion. It's an iconic look with the hat and the coats, and it's like, but strategically thinking, why? Why that? Why red?
The red tunic conjures up images of colonial militia easily picking off British redcoat targets during the American Revolution.
Yeah.
To the modern eye, red seems to be a very bad color of choice for the battlefield, even if it conveyed imperial power.
Yes! Yes, exactly. Oh my god. Okay, I don't feel so crazy now. The narrator agrees with me.
But in the days of muskets, being easily seen may have been the intended effect. A bright color such as scarlet red would have
What?
stood out amongst the clouds of smoke from the musket fire, making it easier to tell friend from foe. Furthermore, it has been suggested, as soldiers formed close together for musket volley fire, due to the inaccuracy of such weapons, the red uniforms of the British troops would merge from a distance, making it difficult for enemy commanders to identify their strength.
What? Whoa. This is not what I was expecting. I didn't know what to expect, but it wasn't this. There is some tactical, strategic thought behind the red coats. You weren't just wearing these big, fancy red coats for fashion. That wasn't the only reason, although they did look good. For one thing, I have heard this before. In war and battles, it can become difficult to tell what side you're on, to tell who is your ally, who's who. If you're wearing these very, very, distinct red coats, that would make it very easy to tell who's on your side in a chaotic battle. That's a good point. This idea that when you're looking across the battlefield and it's kind of hazy and smoky and all the red color kind of blurs together so you don't quite know who is who or how big the enemy force is. It's just like a big red blob. I've never heard anything like that before. Was that actually like a thought? Or are they just saying that? I could kind of see that being a thing.
It has also been suggested that red was chosen as the tunic color of the British Army because it hid the bloodstains of those who were wounded, and therefore acted as a way of maintaining morale.
Oh God, interesting. So far, the reasoning for the red is really weird. I mean, that doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's just like things I would never think about, and maybe that's why I'm not in charge of designing military uniforms. That makes some sense to me. if you're shot and you're bleeding, your enemy wouldn't necessarily be able to tell because the red blood blends in with the red coat. Very gruesome to think that that's actually a real reason, but that actually makes sense to me. I could actually see that. I mean, there's nothing about that that doesn't make sense. It's just kind of horrible. But that makes sense. And then even if you died and fell down on the ground, your red coated dead corpse would blend in with everyone else and kind of confuse people more. Is that like this is kind of tragic and gory, but it makes sense, when you're thinking about a uniform to fight and die in.
However, this has been proven as a myth by historians, with no evidence to suggest this theory.
I know. Sometimes people out there are like, Tyler, just let the video play a little longer. Let it go. Listen. No. But that doesn't bring juicy content like me swearing up and down that, oh yeah, the red coat and the blood, yeah, and then immediately proven wrong. Immediately told that it's wrong. That's funny. Immediately it's like, nah, it's a myth. You know what? No, it's real. It's real to me.
The most likely reason for the color choice was because red dye was cheap and red pigment was readily available and required less work in the dyeing process.
That's why? That's the reason? That's not nearly as fun. That's not nearly as interesting. It's because red dye is cheap? That's why?
In 1645, during the English Civil War, the parliamentarians formed the New Model Army against the Royalists. This new army was unique in that it was formed on the national basis raised by impressment and by regular taxation, rather than by the privately organized militia of landowners.
Okay.
Officers were also chosen on skill and merit, rather than social standing. To convey the unity and the professionalism of all its soldiers under one command, everyone was given the same red uniform regardless of the regiment.
Interesting. What is this regiment? Is this like the earliest British military regiment where it was organized by the government and funded by the government, and everyone was handed out a red coat?
The Venetian red dye had been chosen because it was the cheapest on the market. This was different from the usual practice where regiments supplied themselves with their own uniforms and colors. After the English Civil War and the restoration of the monarchy, the British Army continued to wear red.
It started because red was cheap. It started because the British Empire were cheap. Not necessarily cheap, but like trying to save money, which makes sense if you're equipping thousands and thousands of people. Isn't that funny how sometimes that's just how things work out in history? There's no like grand plan or grand deep reasoning. It's like it was the cheapest dye. And it turned out to be a pretty good color, honestly, if you gotta get stuck with something. It's pretty iconic.
For the same reason of cost, and also because it grew to be a tradition. While having such a bright uniform for centuries, the British were one of the first to adapt and change the color of their uniforms into a more drab camouflage color.
Yeah, in the modern day. Yeah, so now it's just like red because of tradition. And everybody in the world, I think, certainly Americans, and we don't know much about other countries and cultures. We're not good at that. But we identify the red-coated soldier with Britain. I keep using this word. It is iconic. I mean, they're called the Red Coats. And in the modern day, Britain was the first to adopt like actual camouflage colored clothing.
Rifle replaced the musket. The British Army introduced a khaki uniform in India in 1848. Khaki, which is a drab light brown color, comes from the Hindi word for earth-colored, or dusty, a color much better suited to the evolving battlefield.
Oh.
The last time that red uniforms would be used on the battlefield was at the Battle of Guinness in the Sudan in 1885.
1885? So it's been like 140 years since Britain actually deployed red-coated soldiers. But you still have like Kingsguard and traditional military clothing that I've seen for British soldiers and stuff.
From then on, red was limited to parade dress.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Oh, just like that. Just that easy. Nice, short, and quick. Yeah, I saw this video pop up on a recommended thing for me. And it's like, why are British redcoats red? And I was like, why are they red? I've heard about redcoats my entire life, like most Americans, and I think it's like, why don't I know why they're red? Why didn't they teach us? Maybe they taught us and we just all forgot. I don't know, but the real answer is cheap. I think it's because it hides the blood and lets everyone blend in with each other, and because it looks intimidating. Like, that's another thing. Maybe these were side effects of the main reason, but like this big army of nice red coated soldiers marching proudly in unison, it's intimidating. It looks organized and it looks fancy, and red is like a strong color. So I think all the reasons I thought it was a red coat are kind of beside the main historical point that they're cheap. Okay, fine. But either way, I did enjoy getting to the bottom of this and learning about this. That's cool. Cool part of British history. So anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on the British Redcoats, British history, your thoughts about any of this. That'd be cool to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Britain and learning about British culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.